tuning in. Thank you. Today we have Tina Rogers from the Mentality Movement and my former lacrosse coach. So take it away.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thanks so much for having me. It's like so crazy to think that you're a doctor now, making me feel super old. But yeah, like I really admire you for how much you're like really getting after it and just pushing onward and trying to get your business going. So I fully support you and I admire you, and I need to take a page out of your book now.
Thanks. No, it is crazy how it's been what, 4 years, I guess now, since you were telling me to run on the field. And all the playing.
Don't tell anyone any horror stories.
But so what got you into your business and your field, and what's been your driving factor?
So I have always kind of wanted to open up my own practice. It was just like trying to figure out what it is that I really wanted to do. I always knew I wanted to do counseling, but I knew I always wanted to put like a movement component to it, because just I was always interested in the physical aspect of mental health and mental wellness. So I figured why not just like create something that is attractive to people that are looking to obviously, improve upon their mental health, but also improve upon their physical health as well. So I collaborated with somebody that was going to help me try to like navigate and brand myself. And she was like, why not use the two terms mentality and movement as a way to just kind of combine the two concepts that you wanted to do. So that's what I did, and it's constantly evolving and constantly growing, and I'm constantly trying to find new ideas and things to attract different types of clients that I want to work with. Yeah.
And I feel like you do offer a lot of different services that, for people, if they want to speak to you on the phone, or if they would prefer online, or if they want to meet you in person. And I know you told me you have the walk and talk therapy, which is very cool. And so do you want to explain a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So I would love to say that I coined it, but I didn't. I had heard about a therapist in New York who was walking in Central Park with her clients. And when I was down in Florida, and even now that I'm up in New Jersey, I was thinking, being near the beach, and there's a bunch of different parks around here, not that we can use right now, but, that for people that are really intimidated by sitting in an office and sitting face to face with somebody, walking outside and walking alongside someone can be a lot less intimidating than being in an office and being, face to face and talking about some really vulnerable stuff, except, especially for teens, but also for adults as well. So walking outside and talking is so much more healing, I find, for clients, and they see a lot of progress very quickly.
Good. And how, how long do your sessions run? Are they half hours, hour long? Does it kind of vary on what the patient needs?
Yeah, it kind of depends. Like, I usually like to do like the clinical hour, which is about 15 minutes, because it gives me some time in between clients to be able to just like regroup and recenter and move on.
Yeah.
But with doing online right now, things tend to like run over a little bit, or I have a little more leniency with online just because they're not so like back to back, which has been really good for me.
Good, yeah.
Yeah.
Both for helping them, working through tech, any issues or glitches there, and then
yeah, for sure. And I'm sure that you can relate, right? Like with the online stuff that you're doing, like how has that been for you?
It's been really cool. Or I think people are very surprised as to how much they can actually be helped even virtually without the hands-on, PT part. And so same thing, it's a learning curve for people. So certain platforms, whether it's Zoom or whether I use Doxy.me as well, which it, has like a waiting room virtually, and you're able to sign in. And so just for people to kind of figure out or make sure their camera's up and running, sometimes there's a little added time just to work out the kinks like that. But then once it's going, people just can easily move their camera or their laptop in case I need to see them more, if they need to step back. And then I can like show them what exercises they should be doing, how to do it, and just using whatever they have available to them in their home.
Yeah.
So it's been pretty cool. And again, on the rise for years, but now it's, COVID has really brought this to light across all, providers. And
yeah, I was gonna say, so has this always been kind of what you wanted to do, like, be out on your own? And was this just kind of like the push that you needed to get out of like you said you were like working in a practice that was like running you ragged?
Yeah, going from a mill and seeing 4 patients an hour to now having the freedom to just be one-on-one. And, the 7 years of school, our bread and butter is really just fine-tuning those subtle movement dysfunctions and, being able to spend time with people, especially it might not be an obvious, motor impairment or, pattern. It's like I've had shoulder pain. It doesn't really bother me. I still go to CrossFit, but it's enough that it's annoying. And, when you don't have the same amount of time with somebody, you just can't get the best results as fast.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's been, I, started experimenting with telehealth before everything kind of got shut down, and just to use it as a different outlet to help people. So it's been, kind of cool now that more people are kind of seeing it or learning about it or maybe thinking about it. And for those who have taken the leap to test it out, they're usually pretty, again, happy and surprised. And if it is a case that requires the hands-on work, that's, still obviously back there, and a possibility. And I am a manual therapist, so I do have a lot of different tools, I like to use.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. So awesome.
But how have you, what have you seen any patterns with your clients lately, with COVID and being at home and kind of having the shutdown, or maybe now the new anxiety of states starting to reopen?
Yeah, I mean, up here it's a little bit different. Just like in New Jersey, I think for a lot of other areas of the country, it's kind of like this invisible thing that no one has really like experienced firsthand. Whereas in New Jersey and New York too, like it's just so like alive, and people are super anxious to go out and super anxious to do anything outside of their home. But now that things are starting to open back up, there's still that level of fear, like, is this the right time to be doing that? So yes, there is like a pattern of just like overall fear of what could happen if there's another surge, or if they go out and do something and bring it back to their home. So yeah, I think that there's just really a level of anxiety that is very real up here. But I've talked to a lot of clients down in Florida. I do online counseling down in Florida as well. That's like kind of my home base, but I got licensed up here once I moved back up here, so I've been seeing clients in both states. And it seems like down there it's not as there's not much of like a fear around it. It's just like, oh, we're staying home and not really doing anything. But up here, it seems like my clients that are in the like New Jersey area, there's a lot more anxiety. There's a lot more fear around going out and getting it. Yeah.
And I can't remember who specifically said this, but one doctor, she's like, if you're at home and you're bored and your family is healthy, then that means the lockdown was effective because COVID didn't impact your family. And I feel for a lot of people who aren't kind of in the fire, or again, being exposed, or having your neighbors, your friends, and other people in your community become sick or become, critical and maybe pass away, as well, as there have been many deaths. But she goes, if it didn't affect your family, it was a success and not a waste of time, and it wasn't an overreaction. And I think, like you said, depending on where people are located and what, their experience is, what their profession is, who's on the front lines, who still has to go, and kind of seeing hand in hand of what is actually happening in your area.
Yeah.
So
you sent me over like a little bit of a like outline of what you wanted to talk about, and you had asked like what would be one message that you would want to send out to people, and it would be I was listening to a Brene Brown podcast. Her Unlocking Us podcast is incredible, so everyone should go listen to that like ASAP. But she was talking about this like comparative suffering that we're doing, where we're looking to our left and to our right, to our neighbors, and saying, oh, they're not suffering as much as I am, or they're suffering more. And I think that we need to stop comparing our suffering to one another and just start a collective healing. And I think that is just exactly what we need to be doing. We need to stop looking to everyone else to see what everyone else is doing, and just embrace what it is that we're feeling, and tell ourselves that it's okay. Whatever you're feeling is okay, and we need to stop comparing our suffering to somebody else's.
No, that's a great point. And what strategies do you typically help people with that? If they are comparing, their suffering to somebody else, or how do you get them to focus or be more present in their own feelings and emotions?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I usually ask if they're doing anything outside of sitting, on a couch watching the news and scrolling through social media. Most of the clients that I work with that are really struggling with anxiety, we start to put a time cap on what it is they're taking in and the information that they're taking in. I think if we're continuing to look outward, we're not actually taking the time to ground ourselves and center ourselves to look inward. So mostly I will tell people to go out for a walk, leave their phone at home, and just like be outside and be with yourself. Really looking within and just taking a deep breath and doing something for yourself. That's kind of where I start, because if you're comparing, that usually means that you're looking outside for validation. So training ourselves to kind of look inward and say, okay, what do I feel right now, and what do I need based on what I feel right now?
That's awesome. And I do think that's a great start. And now with technology, having its pros and cons of being so readily available, it is hard for people to put it down. And especially if you're watching the news or more negative feeds, it's not all, puppies and rainbows and all the, fun videos that are to watch. But at the same time, that's also what leads to your neck hurting or your back hurting because you're sitting, on your phone. I personally find the one place I can just truly relax is in the garden. For whatever reason, that's like the only true time I can just clear my head. When I go for a walk or a jog, I have to refocus myself, or I have to say, pay attention to this audiobook. Don't, let your mind wander. But the garden is somewhere that, for me, it's just, Zen zone, no other worries in the world. And at least, I feel like at least COVID happened now where we have had warmer weather to at least, get outside and not be on complete, lockdown and, be stuck in a blizzard.
Yeah, and I know, like, for myself, I have kind of taken a step back from social media a little bit. I was reflecting the other day and thinking, when was the last time I scrolled through something and actually, took it in and, remembered it? And I couldn't think of a time that, something really stood out where it, stuck with me that was, really meaningful. And I was like, so why am I looking to this for, any information, because it's not sticking with me. It's just, this static that just, keeps you busy. It's kind of just going through the motions, right? So, just reflecting on what I can do from my position to be able to put out meaningful content for people that isn't just scrollable.
They actually, it'll benefit them in some way. It'll be rememberable. It'll actually help people, improve their mindset right now or improve their well-being.
Yeah. Totally.
And,
Totally.
no,
So I
that's
think what you're doing is awesome, and I think, once you told me to, you're gonna do this, I was like, okay, I gotta keep up with kitty cat.
just go, go, go. Well, I have
Yeah.
to slow down too, and that's the balance of life, which is, working hard and also just enjoying and being in the moment, and because that'll ultimately, you know, get everybody stronger in many different outlets.
Right, right. And I found that routine for people has been like really healing.
Hmm.
I think when this first started, that like people were just kind of, sleeping in and, kind of falling into these like really bad patterns again. And, creating structure and, putting things in place for you to be able to have a normal day, it really does help. It really helps your mental health, and especially for people that are used to being physically active and going to the gyms. And I've talked to a lot of my clients that are trying to get creative and do different things, and it doesn't always have to be um, going to the gym. It's just what people are used to. It's just what people pictured is like healing for them, but they can do the same exact things from the comfort of their own home or even just going outside.
Yeah. And I think that, some people find it easier just, okay, I go to the gym, I have my routine, I have somebody to yell at me and push me,
Yeah.
and I have, a team atmosphere surrounding me. And so those, I find I've seen a little bit of a trend, and this doesn't speak for everybody, but for those who were very active before this all happened, they're now more sedentary. And the ones who never had the time or prioritized the time to work out, they're like getting out for walks. They're actually doing more than they ever have before. And so in
Right.
some cases, it's like you never ran in your life and now you're a jogger.
Yeah.
And that could,
I'm one of them.
yeah. I've never loved running. Chasing a ball, no problem. And I only do it just because you just need sneakers and you just go. But tiering, obviously, your workouts, and there's been plenty of people also getting injured from trying stuff at home or not knowing the best way to do something or what to focus on. And, sometimes people just do need that accountability or that guidance to say, okay, you might not push yourself as hard to do this workout today because you slept in a little bit later, you had a wine night with your friends, whatever it may be. But here's your workout, do it, and then your rest day, your mental health day, that's also on the plan.
Yeah, right.
And,
yeah, there needs to be a balance.
mm-hmm. I was listening to Dr. Mark Hyman's sleep course, and he has these different YouTube videos out right now, and it also talks about the routine, especially if you're having trouble sleeping, which a lot of times, people also contribute to anxiety or stress, and the wheels don't stop at night. But to kind of resync your circadian rhythm, all your other clocks, including your workout, your diet, your mindset, your relaxation techniques. All of that starts with kind of little habits, like first thing in the morning, don't check your phone, which is very tough for people, especially if it's our alarm clocks. And turning it on airplane mode, so that kind of limits the, stuff you can't see in a way like COVID, of what's interfering with your, brainwaves and patterns, and adding more energy when you're trying to calm down and being in a very dark, cooler area. But once you wake up, they're saying get outside right away, because having the bright light in the morning is very important to start to sync the circadian rhythm. But too much bright light on your phone, or then 24 hours a day, is what's now messing up come the evening time, where you want the amber light, you want the red light, you want candlelight. You want to start to train your body, recognizing, okay, now is my time to wind down. And this might not be possible for everybody, especially those who are night shift workers, to, be in this pattern, or finding a time that works best for your body to work most optimally. So
yeah, that's super interesting. I've always been interested in sleep and sleep patterns, and so that I'll have to check that out. That's cool.
It's very cool. And I'm learning too, is if I don't set an alarm clock, my body will naturally wake up between 6:45 and 7:30, let's say. Falling asleep is a struggle. So as much as, even if I get sleepy around 9, 10 o'clock and I might try to go to bed, I don't seem to fall asleep until 12, give or take. And so just also, if I'm able to get at least a higher quality sleep in that time, wake up, uninterrupted, which is very hard with my cat. He's like 5:45, dying of starvation. So people also have kids, they have other pets that need to go out. It's not always the perfect situation, but once I kick him out, then I can go back to sleep a little bit. But I've started to notice just what's an optimal time of me sleeping in and waking up, and how I feel throughout the rest of the day. But still trying to work on habits, like you said, and just, okay, put the phone down, don't even think about it.
Right.
Have you found anything that has helped you throughout this lockdown or quarantine, or finding a routine?
Yeah, I mean, I am very routine based. If I get like knocked out of my routine, like I kind of, like have this like, oh shit moment. So it's been an adjustment. It's not what I pictured, but it's allowed me to really stop and reflect and like understand what it is that I want moving forward, and how this is really going to impact this like whole COVID-19 thing, is really going to impact my business and how I can best help people. So there has been like moments where I just allow myself to feel what I'm feeling. There is that like grief of what's going on in the world right now, but there's also this like feeling of transformation and something new on the horizon for a lot of people. And that's been kind of cool to see in my clients as well. Just that, like, yes, this sucks, but it's also made me realize that I don't need a lot to live my best life and do what I want to do with my life. And I think that a lot of people have shifted their mindset of like want, need to like, this is okay. Like, I'm okay with this, and I think that that's just been really cool. So I think there is that grief side, but I think there's also this like big transformation on the horizon for a lot of people, which I'm super excited about. I hope people embrace that a little bit more.
Absolutely. I feel like this was a blessing to, force everybody to slow down, which otherwise we wouldn't have, especially up here, New York, New Jersey. It's just go, 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 24/7. Now it's like, okay, well, you have to stay home. You have to, spend time with your family, or your pets are very happy, or, calling friends and family more, working on things you might not have ever, put the time or had the time to do. So I think it's a good reset for everybody. And like you said, there's good to come just over the horizon, and we're all going to transform into a new way of life that's able to, open up other opportunities and doors, even if it's not, the usual life we're used to, even if we do have to wear masks for a while, even if we are, any germaphobe out there was already conscious of touching subway handles, doorknobs, tissues. Coach Kate, if you're still on, you had that hand sanitizer.
Oh my gosh, yes.
It's truer. And I feel like for those of us in the medical profession, we too we're just trained to recognize when you're contaminating a surface, or when you touch one patient, now you touch the handle. And, just being already being aware, but now being even more mindful and limiting that spread.
Yeah, I was thinking about that the other day, just like how I'm not a germaphobe, and how this has like, completely changed my view of things. So yeah, I'm just not used to it. I'm used to like, oh yeah, a little dirt, that'll, build my immunity or something.
Exactly. And Usually it does, except when there's a pandemic.
It's definitely shifted my perspective on the whole germ thing as well.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Coach Kate.
Shout out.
We used to go to hotels and she would like get her black light out and check the beds and make sure that there was no dirt anywhere.
Now as a new mom and baby's putting everything in their mouth and being on the floor.
For sure.
No, it's definitely been a game changer. We'll ask her later all the specifics of how she's been dealing with COVID and motherhood, so I feel too with now, like you said, how this is also opening different opportunities for you to help people, because there is basically going to be PTSD from this. And I would say especially from healthcare providers, and even for the period of time I was still in the busy clinic, I have to say that was a stress like no other, because I was like, I'm in direct contact with people with no protective equipment available. Even though I wash my hands between everybody, it was just like, well, am I about to spread something? Did I get something from the other person? Not so much concerned about my health, but who am I going to give it to? Or am I giving it to somebody's grandma? Am I giving it to my parents? Am I giving it to, somebody else's cousin with respiratory issues? And it was just a very like heavy stress. And again, that's nothing compared to the hospital workers. That's nothing compared to the, supermarket, workers who have to touch everybody's, stuff, or has to go to work and just show up every day despite the risk for themselves and for their family members. And
I think that we're going to see a lot more people kind of coming out of the woodwork and needing that support and just like those coping skills to be able to get through some of that. Mm-hmm. People that have worked in the healthcare system have probably never experienced anything like this before. So they don't know how to cope with some of the stressors that are being put on them. Some of these expectations, and especially up here where they don't have the right equipment in some of the hospitals, these people are putting themselves at risk every day. And I think that that's going to be, like you said, I think that's going to be something that we see a huge rise in over the next year or so, is people walking into, our offices just, burnt out and like completely like, just stressed out, anxious, really just dealing with that trauma. And I think that a lot of people in the healthcare field probably haven't addressed any of the things that they're going through right now with anyone outside of themselves or their coworkers.
Yeah.
So they don't want to take it home to their families. They don't want to, open up and talk to other people that also might be stressed, which are their coworkers. So I think that there's definitely going to be a need for that, holding space for those people and being able to allow them to be vulnerable and really feel seen and heard outside of their own, collective unit there.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like while you're in the fire, it's really hard to just step back and, accept the trauma that's happening, accept the feelings. You're kind of just in power mode. You have to do your job. You have to be strong for the people you're helping, which I feel like as healthcare providers, we're often quick to put somebody else first and not always take care of ourselves to the best of our ability. It's just like, well, I have to go help them. I had a fever, one nurse had a fever for 3 days. And once you're then asymptomatic for 3 days as a healthcare provider, you have to report back to work. And so you're still run down, but you're just like, I have to go. I can't let down my team. I can't let down my patients. And, it's probably going to be once this things settle and once people who are getting burnt out now have the ability to take a little time off or to just sit back and breathe and soak it all in, that's when it's going to be a flood of emotions that would be important to see somebody like you. and, to be able to cope and handle it, and, not just suppress it for the time being to make it through each day.
Yeah, and I think like you had asked me like what did I or why did I become a counselor and a coach? I think it's kind of for this reason. I think that people want to work through their past trauma, um, but they also want to work on their present and being able to look for the future. A lot of times, with coaching, you're focusing on your present and your future. With counseling, you're usually focusing on your past, like, and how it's affecting your present. So I wanted to be able to look at somebody from a whole perspective and be able to help them in the way that they need to be helped. I didn't want to be, one track minded in that. We're always going to be looking at the past, and we're always going to be looking about how it shaped your present. I also wanted to be able to have the tools to help people work through that and then look forward into the future and how that can, progress.
Absolutely. And it all kind of connects and plays a role. And, just because you did have a past trauma doesn't mean that you're stuck with a negative outcome in the future, but it's just working on improving your situation, presently, and how you're going to optimize that negative experience into a positive one for down the road.
And then, and working with athletes like yourself, like that's kind of how I knew that I wanted to do some type of like coaching, because I saw how so many athletes are turned off by, going to a counseling center, or they feel like that person doesn't understand them from an athletic perspective. And I think having that background and understanding that and being able to offer that to athletes who walk into my office, I think was like a huge thing for me. Just being able to see that within the teams that I've worked with, that there was no one that was like a liaison between like your mental wellness and your physical wellness.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have school in there. You have that school stressor in there.
And maybe a job, and, just all the commitments of being on a team. And so it's to fit in an hour session in a formal, clinic is tough to add to the schedule.
Yeah, and I'm sure that you see that from your perspective too, like people coming in and wanting to get physically well, but needing to talk through some of those mental health issues and how that impacts their physical health.
Absolutely. And, I often find patients like tell me, it's just like, wow, you're the first provider who spent more than 5 minutes with me. And so they were able, they're coming in for their back pain, but, they fell a little while back and they hurt their knee. And so they started walking, but they've had to care for another family member, or just other issues happening in life where maybe that's why they haven't been able to do their home exercise program. And it's like being able to work with that and say, what, it's okay. Yes, this is going to help you get better physically, but until you address the mental component as well and the other hurdles you're facing as to why you can't successfully lose weight or get in shape or get rid of your back pain, it all, ties together. And usually just spending time and listening to people, it helps them just process what's going on in their life, and, maybe recognizing on their own different solutions they could do, or just at least start thinking about it. Even if they can't make the change right now, it's like, okay, well, the wheels start turning, and now, that thought becomes an action. And
Right. Yeah, and I was gonna say, like, from your perspective, like, I know from like my perspective, the like medication issue that we have in our country right now, and how that impacts people's physical health. I don't think that's addressed enough. So the fact that you're just asking about that and like understanding like mental health, I think probably puts you, up there above some other practitioners, just because other people aren't asking those questions. How's your medication impacting your physical health? Have you looked at the side effects of the medication that you're on for a mental health issue? Like, I think that some people like just don't think about that.
Yeah.
I had a woman in my office who had been on a antidepressant. It was antidepressant for like 7+ years. And she was talking about how she was like in crippling pain, and it just has like kind of spiraled.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just thinking, like, why have you been on this for 7 years? I understand that it's helping you mentally, but it's really killing your physical health. Have you looked at other options? Have you been working with like a PT, or have you been, trying to work through this? And she was like, wow, I never really thought about that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that, you having that insight and understanding, and taking the time to get to know the clients that you're working with and what they might be going through, or what medication they might be on.
Absolutely. And that's why there are plenty of more natural or holistic remedies that people can use. And in cases, obviously, medication is important for people who genuinely can't function without being on a certain, depressive med or anxiety med. Like, it's definitely needed in certain cases, but a lot of people, by just kind of cleansing inside out with their diet, their sleep, their stress levels, and kind of taking more healthy approaches, their symptoms often mitigate. And it's the same of what I tell my patients who have been on pain pills for years. I was like, it hasn't gotten rid of your back pain. You're still in pain, and you're still taking this, and now you're taking more because it hasn't worked, so you take more, it's still not working. And sometimes that can actually like mask the problem more, and the pain wouldn't be any worse than what you're already experiencing. And so once people come off that, now their gut can get back in check. They are able, to actually feel the specific movements that cause the pain and which ones alleviate it. And we're able to retrain the body, retrain the nervous system to say, I should be able to bend down and tie my shoelaces without back pain.
Yeah.
And, because typically the body heals, like the body is very resilient. If you have an injury or a trauma, the actual tissue healing is relatively quick, obviously depending on which one, but then if you have this chronic pain for a year, 5 years, 10 years even, it's like usually the tissues aren't damaged anymore, but the nervous system is still in fight mode. It's reacting, and mentally you're like, well, when I bent down to pick up, that sock on the floor, my back went out, and now I'm fearful every time I pick something off the floor. But I'm not thinking about how I carry the groceries in, or how I, stack boxes at work. All the day-by-day things, or lifting heavier things, that kind of just put you at risk that one day, and then your back went out. And so kind of just resetting, and like you said, mentally, for people, maybe they have all these weird side effects that is like, well, I'm really lethargic, or I don't feel motivated. I'm taking this antidepressant, but now I just want to lay in bed all day. And so it becomes this cycle that's very tough to break. And obviously you want to talk to your physician too, before you just stop any medication drastically. But just to see if there would be one with less side effects, or that would be more beneficial to you.
Yeah, no, and I have people that walk in and they have, they're suffering from anxiety or depression, and they want to be recommended to somebody to prescribe that medication, because I can't do that from my end. I'm so glad that I don't do that.
Me too.
So, I always say to clients, what does your exercise look like? What does your daily movement routine look like? Let's change that alongside of, some of the tools that you can learn in counseling, and let's see if any of your symptoms improve. My approach is always holistic first. If you're not on medication when you walk through my door, I'm going to do everything that I can before that to make sure that you're not, just being put on medication to be put on medication. I want to treat in a holistic manner for as long as I can, before, somebody comes to me and is like, listen, this isn't working, and I think I might need a little bit of help. So that is kind of my approach to working with people that might want medication or think that they need it.
Mm-hmm.
I want to kind of check all of those other boxes first before having to resort to that. That's kind of like a last resort for a lot of my clients.
Absolutely, and that's the same here. And sometimes again, people they've been dealing with something for so long, so they feel like they need an instant gratification or something that will fix them, but it doesn't really work that way, or that's not really getting to the root cause of the problem. And by kind of addressing all these other issues first, like you said, get out and walk more. What's your exercise routine? How are you dealing with XYZ? Like, your last resort should be medication. Or
like you said, what does your sleep look like?
Yeah. And a lot of times it's like, okay, well, I go to bed at 1 a.m. I pulled an all-nighter, for a paper, which I never did. I was always a grandma and would get my work done early. But so many people, it's just like they do that, and that throws you off the next few days.
Yeah. And then medication just enables that. And enables that unhealthy pattern. And I think that more people need to kind of, look through what other options are before just, signing a script. And I think, that's just something that our society as a whole needs to change.
Mm-hmm. And I think, again, after this whole experience, too, of like, people might start looking into things they can do to better help themselves, or realizing how, they were able to just go through the motions of the routine, and then that routine was just pulled direct, right out from under them, and they couldn't, kind of just mask whatever they were trying to by, okay, I go to work, I go to the gym, I go to wherever, and now it's like, oh, I have to sit with myself. I have to actually listen to my thoughts and everything I've been trying to suppress. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's so right. It's so true. I completely agree. I think we're so not used to sitting with ourselves. We're so used to avoiding.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that this time has just created a lot of that for people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it feels so uncomfortable for so many people. And I think that's why so many people are struggling right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And, so with somebody in that situation, I mean, you kind of already spoke about it's like, what's your exercise routine? Or you tell them to get outside or to limit social media. Is there anything else, like, because to practice, like, being with yourself or being alone and being in the quiet space and learning to be comfortable with it?
Yeah. I think reflection is a huge part of that. I think a lot of people avoid confronting what it is that they're avoiding. So for me, that's kind of like my job, is to kind of call you on that. And then actually hold space for you to feel seen and feel heard by someone else and expressing those feelings. Like, sometimes it's just the verbal, like, acknowledgement of what it is that you're feeling and what it is that you're experiencing that can be the start to the healing process. I think people don't know what they're feeling. I think people don't have the vocabulary to be able to address or recognize or identify what it is that they're actually feeling. So that's where working with someone like me, I can provide you with those tools. I can provide you with that vocabulary so that you could be like, oh, that's what it is. Like, this is what I need based on what it is that I'm feeling right now.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like creating space for yourself to be able to sit with those feelings. Some people are so uncomfortable sitting with their feelings. I am one of them. I'm a therapist. I hate sitting with my feelings, but I think that it's so important. And I think having someone just say, your feelings are valid. What it is that you're feeling is okay. And you need to vocalize that to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Is just what people need. Like, they just need someone to sit with them.
Yeah.
And listen to them. Some people never have anyone listen to them. They feel like they just talk, and no one's actually listening. So I think from my perspective, that's what I've seen so much with people is just sitting with somebody can be healing in and of itself.
Mm-hmm.
Being present and giving people the opportunity to express what it is that is their deepest vulnerability can be so healing. So that's kind of, my attack usually with most people is just being able to sit and listen and allow them the space to be able to come to terms with whatever it is that they're coming to me for.
Mm-hmm. And, like you said, usually it's just simple cues to recognize what you're feeling, but it helps having somebody like you to, just like it's easier for somebody to tell you what workout to do, it's easier for somebody to say, hey, I have the bird's eye view. I see you're in the fire. Let's see if we can pull you out. Use this cue to get out, or recognize with this simple term. I've just started listening to an audiobook called Stop Missing Your Life. And with meditation, while I've been trying to practice that and become more regular with it, me sitting still and I'll just not thinking about my to-do list is a big challenge. And in this book, he leads you through a few meditations, and he's like, it's not even about the meditation. He's like, I don't care about that part. It's more so being present. And so, he's like, don't get flustered with yourself when your mind wanders. With normal people, your mind is going to wander. And it's just, how can you revert back to center, or just use a cue of like, okay, if you're going on a walk because you really struggle with sitting still and meditating, as you go on a walk, simple, that's a tree, that's a bird, that's my footstep hitting the pavement. That, okay, I start thinking about a to-do list, that's okay. Let me get back to the pavement. Let me get back to the tree. And he's like, not all meditation is going to leave you feeling happy, good, and relaxed and, replenished. He's like, some of it's going to bring in negative feelings. And he uses the same concept of like, I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling anxious. I'm feeling, worry about X, Y, Z. And that's okay. And just to address it and try to let it go and refocus on the breath. And, anytime you need to refocus, just go back to breathing.
I do, since we've been in, quarantine, I've been doing, phone talks with people who are walking and talking. So people are outside walking while they're on the phone with me. Or they can FaceTime me too. But when people are walking, just having them, like you said, recognize sight, sound, taste, smell, feeling. So kind of acknowledging all 5 of those senses while you're walking creates that being present feeling. And then, like you said, kind of bringing in that breath work where you keep breathing, the 4 seconds in, hold for 2, 4 seconds out, kind of regulates your breathing if you're feeling really anxious. So I usually teach my clients, if you want to breathe in for 4 seconds, kind of hold for 2, and then you want to release for a count of 4 or more. That kind of re-regulates your breathing so that you can not have that shallow breathing that you have when you feel anxious.
And as we breathe, we are telling our nervous system we're not in danger, we're not running from a tiger, and so that it's okay, that we use that technique too in just foam rolling or stretching. It's kind of like, if you can breathe, you haven't gotten too far. If you're at a point you can't breathe anymore and you're tensing up, you're just going to reinforce those tense patterns. So it's like, breathe into the restriction, ease up if you need to, and gradually work more. And obviously the same goes with just mindset and, the walking and talking in a way with you is also it's not, it's closer to a peer, but you still have the professional guidance. And so you're not in the drama of your friends or family at home who, people, we all vent to, you always have somebody you go to and they know your situation, but at least you're now able to step back from the personal emotions and feelings, or be able to objectively kind of say, this is what it seems like, or what's happening.
Right. And I find that people open up so much more when there isn't that, one person above the other. I think sometimes when you walk into a therapist's office, it's like, oh, you're the professional, you're above me. And I just don't like that. I want my clients to feel comfortable. I want them to know that I've gone through or understand their experiences. And I think, like you said, I kind of like that, I'm your peer. I'm your guide. I'm your, support. And I just want to help you figure out the best way to serve yourself. like, I don't want there to be that, status of, me being all knowing, because I'm not.
No.
I'm sure you feel that way too, even though you have doctor in front of your name.
No, absolutely. I only make friends and family call me doctor. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, same with patients, the more you can empathize, for me, it was all the injuries. So I was like, I've been here. I know how much it sucks after surgery, and I know the emotional component to it too, and not being able to vent like you normally would, or just put on your shirt normally. And, and also when you're a little bit more lighthearted, people do open up, and they don't,
Yeah.
and that's when I find too, it's just like once somebody reveals something, it's like, this is where your problem started. Like, this is how this is all connected. Or a lot of times people, they'll tell me what their main problem is, and then they either, don't think that like the medication they're on is important, or the surgery they had when they were a kid was important. And I was like, well, scar tissue is like a tree. It branches roots, it expands. I was like, so that restriction from that surgery all those years ago could still be here. And so, you have to work around it. And as people open up more, you just are better able to help them, help themselves.
Right. Yes. So true. So true.
But I guess, does anybody have any questions? I know we have a few minutes left. And hey, Jarrett, jumping on now.
Hey, what's up, Jarrett?
Any questions for Tina?
If anyone wants to, she said, love this knowledge. If anyone has any questions, I offer a free 30-minute consultation to any client that is looking to just kind of get a feel for me and see if I can help them with whatever they're going through. I don't know if you do the same, Kat, or you just do a consultation over the phone, or what it is that you do, but anyone that wants that can kind of get in contact with me in any way. What was the name of the book again?
Stop Missing Your Life. I forgot the author, but yeah, very good.
That's my friend Betty. Hi, Betty. Awesome. Yeah. So, and the demographics that you work with, are you mostly working with athletes? Or are you working with adults? Anyone? What is your usually treat?
Mostly athletes and active adults. I can treat anybody, and I do enjoy kind of treating across the lifespan. But yeah, mostly people, it's you just want to have a normal life again, or you don't want to be debilitated by this pain, or not be able to play with your kids, fully, or go on a hike with your friends, or, you might have this stupid shoulder pain that's affecting, your lacrosse game, but it's not enough to fully stop you, but, you're aware of it. So just getting people back to whatever activity they love, and, to do so pain-free, and have those longer lasting results, and have the tools they need to take care of their body.
Yeah. No, I think that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me, and it's so nice to see your face.
Yeah.
Were you at alumni weekend this year? Because I wasn't. So
I wasn't either. Just Kate's baby shower, but yeah.
All right. Well, hopefully I'll get to see you in person sometime soon. But I really appreciate you doing this.
Yeah,
is there anything else that you could think of that I should be answering? I don't even know. I was trying to think about the list.
I think I wrote it down. I think you touched on everything, and I think you're helping a lot of people, and anybody who needs some help and support at this time, reach out to Tina. You can find her at the Mentality Movement, and she's awesome.
Same to you, Kat. I appreciate it. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, bye.
All right, bye.